Hi there, this is Steve Q and welcome to this short video where I am super excited to tell you all about the new 12-step training program that I've put together especially for telesales people. And I'm going to tell you what it's called in just a minute, but before we go ahead, I'd like to give you a little bit of an insight as to my background. For the last 33 years, I've been at the coalface of hardcore direct sales and particularly telesales, selling high ticket items to prospects and customers over the phone. And I'm not saying this to impress you, but to impress upon you that these types of incomes and this type of success is possible. I have earned literally millions of pounds in straight commission from selling on the phone myself and also from training, teaching and mentoring sales teams to do the same kind of activity as me. More recently, I've been working with companies and individuals, perhaps like you, and helping them to expand and increase and improve their own telesales results. And my best result today is a whopping 74% increase in telesales results for a major global multinational company in less than 6 months. Anyway, back to that 12-step program. 12-step programs are kind of a cliche, aren't they? But, often cliches are true, aren't they? I've called my 12-step program Call and Grow Rich. You'll never guess where I got the inspiration for that title from, will you? Call and Grow Rich, how to pick up the telephone and make money from anywhere. One of the sayings that I love more than anything in this business was taught to me a long time ago by my old mentor, a guy called Richard Denny. And Richard said to me, Steve, nothing happens anywhere without a sale of some kind first being made. Now, what does that mean? Well, because we're not all salespeople, are we? But in a way, we are, because you could be selling your kid on the philosophy of not getting involved with the wrong people, not getting involved with people who do substances, not getting involved with people who have no ambition. You could be selling your wife or your husband on the idea that where you want to go on holiday in Acapulco is far better than where he or she wants to go in Benidorm, for example. But all the time we are selling, and that's what Richard meant by that. We are always selling of some sort. So I've made some notes here, please excuse that, but there's so much to go through here and I'm going to try and do it so quickly. The first step of our 12-step program really is about our attitude towards ourselves more than anything as salespeople. It's amazing, isn't it, how many companies or how companies and people get so creative about what they call themselves, when really what they are is salespeople. They'll be account directors, they'll be such and such managers, and there's a million different titles now, especially in social media. But when you strip it all back, they're salespeople. So why not just say so? Why not say, I'm a salesman, I'm a saleswoman, I'm a salesperson? You've got to get into being a salesperson. So it's that mindset, that attitude. I'm actually really, really happy to be a salesperson. I've met people before who have not seen, who I've known, and I've not seen them for a long, long time, and said, hey, lovely to see you. What are you doing now? And they say, oh, well, I've just got a sales job until a proper job comes around. It frustrates the living daylights out of me, because if they only knew how much they could make, salespeople, good salespeople who take it seriously and advance their careers earn more than lawyers and doctors. So why would you be doing a sales job temporarily until you find a quote unquote proper job? It annoys the living daylights out of me because people don't take it seriously. And if you're in it, you may as well be in it to win it. And if you're in it to win it, you've got to take it seriously. So being self-confident also is a huge part of being a successful salesperson, and especially on the telephone. So being self-confident if we are self-confident and we've got self-belief and high self-esteem, that will go down the phone line, travel across the ether, as it were, as what we call a transference of feeling. And that will make your prospects and your customers feel good. And believing and conveying to our prospects and our clients that selling is actually something that we're doing for them, not to them. Zig Ziglar said, selling is something that we do for someone and not to them. And so once we get that into our heads and we believe in the product, we believe in the company, we believe in ourselves, we should have no problem in calling ourselves salespeople, really. So step 2 is how to speak effectively to people on the telephone. This might sound a bit crazy, like a little bit basic, but I am constantly amazed, outraged, and shocked as to how poor people are on the telephone. I mean, some of the people that ring me up, and I get onto a lot of mailing lists and put my number in freely, some of the people that ring me up, really, they need to go back to school and learn how to talk to people, and that's putting it in the mildest form. So we've got to learn how to speak effectively to our prospects. Next bit in step 2 is quickly being able to reckon, and this is a real skill, by the way, but it's one that can be, like all skills, it's one that can be acquired and learned. And it's quickly learning to recognize the personality type of the person that we've been assigned to on the other end of the phone. Quickly, and then mirroring that and emulating that, not mimicking it so it's obvious, but getting in sync with that person, because we all know that people buy from people who they like, and people like people who they perceive, and that's the key word here, who they perceive to be like them. Whether you are like them or not is irrelevant in your private life, but if they perceive that you're a little bit like them, they're going to gravitate towards you. You're going to set up that attraction. And then the third part in step 2 is deploying really, really good telephone etiquette and creating these sort of scenarios that when you call up a client, whether he's at home, whether he's at the office, it's his wife or secretary fielding the call at first, that they are pleased to hear from you. You can't hear them shuffling around in the background making all those excuses. And I've heard them do it. It's happened to me. We don't want that. We want to set up these scenarios that when they say it's you, the person's absolutely overjoyed and rushing to the phone to take your call. That's what you want. So step 3. This is something which is very, very relevant and prevalent nowadays, and it's overcoming the initial suspicions and cynicisms that people have about telesales people. Because over the years, the culture's shifted quite a lot towards social media selling and stuff like that. People are less inclined to pick their phones up, but also there's been a lot of these consumer and watchdog style programs which have kind of gone a long way to vilifying salespeople in the eyes of the public. And so a lot of the time people actually believe that salespeople are crooks and con men, and they're just out there for themselves, and that there's, a little bit of a move going on. And most people who I know are in sales, yeah, of course they're in it to make money, but they wouldn't be in it if they didn't believe in the product and the service and the company. So we've got to get that over to companies, and we've got to learn how to open up new prospects and quickly turn them into paying customers. So those two things kind of go hand in hand. And really on this third step here, how to open up this is something I'm constantly asked by people. They're really having difficulty getting through to the right person because of what we call the gatekeeper. That could be a secretary, it could be a husband or wife who's saying, well, what's it about first, So we've got to learn how to build rapport and friend up the gatekeeper, because they really can either be your worst enemy or your best friend, and they can be your best friend almost to the degree that they become your virtual sales assistant. So we've got to be aware of that, and we've got to learn how to do it. So step 4 in our 12-step program, Call and Grow Rich, is I will review and refine all your sales scripts for you. I've done this for my own businesses, for friends' businesses, for businesses that paid me to do it very successfully. Sales scripts, guides, video scripts, all of that sort of thing. I'll also review and refine all of the linguistics and the language patterns, written and verbal, and make sure that they're consistent and congruent in everything. And I'll also discuss and explain with you the refinements and the reasons behind them. So I'll give you a 3-dimensional 360-degree view and reason as to why I've done what I do. And step 5 is I will review and refine and again explain and take you through it all of the outbound response and follow-up email that happens either just before and then after the sales call. So that's something that you find very helpful, because it's very important that all this is extremely consistent and what we call congruent. We don't want to be saying one thing on the phone and another thing in our in our email communications or in letters we might send out in the post, if you still do that nowadays. Step 6, very important, and this is something that people just don't do. I think we've got Valentino Rossi over there, by the way. This is something that people just don't do enough of, and it's questioning skills and techniques. So often people come on the phone to me, that's it, I've come back in focus now. People come on the phone to me and they're tell, sell. Before they ask me, is it convenient to speak at the moment? Can I call you by your first name? I mean, they're basic questions. And then start asking me what I'm looking for, what my timescales are, what my budget. They just assume that I'm going to lap up everything they say and buy at the end of a call where I've barely got a word in edgeways. So questioning skills and techniques are uber important. Step 7 in Call and Grow Rich, how to pick up the phone and make money from anywhere, is becoming a world-class listener. If you become, and your salespeople become, world-class listeners, I guarantee you your sales will go like that. You see, you don't have to shine that brightly nowadays to become a superstar. Hardly anybody listens to what we're saying. And here's a key thing about listening. Here's a free tip for you. If you listen to people correctly, not only will you get the full story and know how to position everything better than if you didn't listen properly, but also if you demonstrate to that person that you have been listening to them, they'll love you for it, because they go through life with people not listening to them, not paying attention, whether it's at home, whether it's at work. Finally, here's somebody who's listening to them properly, and they know it. And what that does is it raises dramatically people's levels of self-esteem. And if you are a person who's raising people's levels of self-esteem, you are a person that people want to talk to, because it's a nice and pleasant, warm, fuzzy experience. So become a world-class listener. Step 8 in Call and Grow Rich. Here's a great technique, and it's so related, but I'm not going to give you the whole shebang right now, but it's so related to the previous point, and it's how to literally hypnotize your prospects and clients over the phone. How to literally hypnotize people over the phone. And if you can do this, it means you'll keep people on the phone for much longer and protracted periods of time, 30, 40 minutes, sometimes an hour. And if you can do that, I guarantee it's a skill your competitors will like as not have. And if you can do that, then if they are genuinely in the marketplace for what you're selling, then you will absolutely blow the competition out of the water if you can keep people on the phone for that length of time. Your salespeople can keep people on the phone for that length of time. And literally hypnotizing people is the way to do it. And that's what I teach. Step 9, becoming a master at gaining referrals. You're probably spending lots of money on advertising. Maybe you advertise on television, radio, maybe you advertise in the broadsheets, maybe you do a lot of Facebook advertising or Google PPC. Valentino Rossi's back again. But let me just tell you something. Salespeople rarely ask for referrals, and they should be fired, in my opinion, if they are not asking for referrals, whether they sell or not. And I can share some very interesting stories, true life stories, Everything I do is based on experience. I've not just read a few books and decided to put this course together. I've been doing this for 33 years, a bit more than 33 years. And people who ask for referrals, let me just explain to you this, you've got an 80% more chance of that referral turning into a paying customer, a paying client, than any of the other expensive methods of advertising and lead generation. And guess what? They're free. They don't cost you anything. All they cost you is the intelligence and the remembering to ask for them. Step 10, closing the business. You know what? So much is said about closing, and I'm not going to dwell on this here, but most of it is complete BS and codswallop, because a good sales conversation is just that. It's a conversation. It's an exchange of views and information, and if we can help you, if we can be the solution to the problem that you've got, to the issue you've got at the moment, and if we can do it at a competitive price and you like us and you can see we're going to give you good after sales service, then that should close the sale. But so often, this is what people forget to do. They forget to actually ask for the business. So they pitch it well, they follow up, they do everything, and then somebody else goes and takes home the bacon. And that's because that other person actually was cheeky enough to ask them to buy. So remember, ask people to buy. We do everything else so well. Let's remember to be good at asking people to buy. And step 11 is what I call auto-suggestive or advanced seeding techniques. Some people might look at this as being manipulative. It's not. If we're talking to the right people in the first instance, it's just a very few subtle techniques that we can use to put our product, our service, our company into people's minds, and maybe do a few triggers and a few things to make them think of us later, and just ways to follow up and to enhance and hone that process, which are, funnily enough, some of them are the techniques that dating professionals and pickup artists, dare I say it, use, but they actually work with people. And step 12 is how to become great at upselling our own customers. You know, we're all out there, aren't we, looking for new customers, looking for new clients and prospects, and oftentimes we're not going back to our own ones, A, for referrals, and B, see if they want a bit more. And I can show you a unique and amazing 3-point, I call it a trick if you like, or a technique, where you can literally double your profitability by employing this, and it's all done with your existing customers. We've got some bonus steps here as well. I'm just going to quickly, if that's okay, run through those. Bonus step 1, overcoming the fear of objections. You thought I'd forgotten about objections. I haven't at all, but they come up during the natural course of this conversation and this course anyway. But I'll give you the best method ever for handling objections. Bonus step 2 is developing a great winning attitude and literally becoming an unstoppable force when it comes to telephone selling. An attitude is everything, guys. If you've got a sales team with a congruent attitude, that means they're all singing off the same hymn sheet and they're all in it for the greater good. They're not just sort of in it for themselves. They're working together as a team. Then you've got a winning sales team. If you've got a sales team, or even 1 or 2 people in a sales team with a bad attitude, just like the proverbial barrel of apples, you will never get the rotten ones to be turned good by the majority of good ones. But in time, the rotten ones will turn the good ones bad as well. Bonus step 3 is becoming an attractive salesperson. And this is where I break down the word attraction, because there's 4 or 5 different words that are so relevant to telesales and what we do in the word attraction itself. And you will learn how to become an attractive salesperson like you've never known. And bonus step 4 is what I call the 5D principle. And the 5 Ds, very quickly, are desire. How much do you want it? Determination. How determined are you to get it? What are you prepared to do for it? Distractions and how to avoid being distracted. The distractions are the biggest hindrance to you developing your sales career or your business. So we'll talk about that. Discipline. I used to associate discipline with getting the cane at school, but discipline's something completely different. And if you can get the right side of a discipline equation, boy, have you got it cracked. And then decision. None of us like making decisions. Why? Because decisions lead us from point A to point B. And we're nice and comfortable and all warm and fuzzy on point A, aren't we? But when we get to point B, that's a bit of uncertainty. And people don't like uncertainty. People are actually addicted in the main to certainty. So we talk about that as well. Bonus step 5 is really what we touched on a little bit earlier in this video, is the importance of teamwork. You know, teamwork makes an acronym, doesn't it? Together, everyone achieves more. And that's so true. So we'll talk about being a cohesive team, a world-beating telesales team. And bonus step 6 is what I call the 3M miracle, guys. Starts with movement. It starts with motion, then it goes to movement, and then it goes to momentum. And we'll talk about that philosophy and apply it to our telesales careers and our sales business. And bonus step 7 is not what you think. How we use the C word to become great salespeople, how we use the C word to close more sales. I'm not going to go into it now, but it's not what you think. And bonus step 8 is change. You know, ironically, change is the one constant in life, but change is the one thing that none of us like. So we've got to get used to, we've got to strengthen up our change and our decision-making muscles, but we've also got to impart and educate our prospects and our clients by using empathy and analogy on accepting and dealing and getting better at making decisions and dealing with change and so on and so forth. So we'll talk about that as well. So this is a complete system for identifying our limiting beliefs. It's a complete system for stopping our self-sabotaging habits by dealing with change and decision and digging right down and talking about the paradigms that control us. And there's some really easy ways that which we can improve ourselves massively out of all proportion by just a few subtle changes, by identifying what's holding us back, getting it out of the way. And it's literally like reprogramming your PC, and you can do it with your clients as well. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching. Please leave me a comment. Look out for the next information on this, and I will give you some info very soon on how you can get a hold of my new book, which is incidentally called Call and Grow Rich, How to Pick Up the Phone and Make More Money, Make Money from Anywhere, and the 12-step program that I'll be delivering around that whole system. So thanks again for watching. I'm Steve Q. Please check the next video, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.